Good morning. Looks like we do have one visitor with us back there. We welcome you here and invite you back. We're glad to see you again. I think you've been here before. I've got, do we have anyone that has had a birthday or an anniversary and wishes to contribute to the birthday bank? No one? Okay. Okay, we did send 2 cards from the church this morning. One of them was sent to Samantha Hill. It was a sympathy card. She lost a son-in-law this week. And then we sent Marvin Morris a card, and it's just a thanking of you card. Okay, do we have, of course we do have graduation today, and I think that is at 2 o'clock. Is that correct, at Green City? Okay, 2 o'clock this afternoon at Green City. I think the graduation at Kirksville, does anyone know what time that is? Austin, I think, no, it's not Kirksville, Brashear. But anyway, he's graduating there. So that's also today. We have several receptions. 2 of them, one of them is here. I think Manny's is here. I think Judd's. And Ashton's is at the Baptist Church at Green City. And somebody's is at the community building. Matt Hoyle is at the community building. I thought there was another one, but I couldn't think of it. Okay, do we have any more announcements this morning? Okay, we got one back there. Susan.
I've got 2, actually. Next week before the fellowship dinner, as they're getting that ready, we'll do a quick VBS meeting just to kind of let everybody know the theme and how it's going to roll this year and pass out some sign-up sheets. And then also, keep it on your calendar, June 6th, the following Sunday, will then be Annie Tate's baby shower. So please join us, even though he's here. That actually makes it more fun. So we can ask her. I don't know exactly what she needs, but we will touch base with her and put that in your calendar. Thank you.
That was on the 6th, Susan? Okay. Okay, do we have any more announcements? As Susan said, next Sunday will be the dinner here at the church. We postponed it a week because of the graduation this week, so it'll be next week. Okay, is there any more announcements? Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll turn the services over to Ryan.
Okay. What was the best car when you graduated? That's my question this morning. I want you to think about this, the decade that you graduated in. Maybe you graduated in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. I don't know. What do you call the time period between 2000 and 2010? The zeros? I mean, what do they call them? What about 2010 to 20? What do you call that? I'm trying to literally figure this out. All I know is from 20s on. What's before? Nobody know? Okay, let's go 2010 to 2020. I just want you to yell out the best car on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. That answers our questions. There was no good cars then. I didn't hear any Teslas. I didn't hear anything.
They all look alike.
Okay, let's go 2000 to 2010. 1, 2, 3, go. Still nothing. Okay. Let's back up to the 90s. Okay, on the count of 3, we're going to go 90s. I'm in this one. I'm going to take my mic off. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. The Mustang, right? The Ford Mustang. The 95 Mustang. Oh, man. Where are you guys from? Okay, let's go 80s. On the 80s, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Did anybody graduate in the 80s? Nobody graduate in the 80s? What's your favorite car, Cody? Okay. Okay, we're going to back up farther. Okay, we'll try the...
I don't want to say a Toyota Sienna minivan.
Oh, well. I feel your pain. I'll let you off on that one. I had a minivan, too. I know. It's nice to graduate from the minivan, I will say. Okay, let's go to 70s. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, I'm starting to hear something now. Okay, on the count of 3, 60s. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I like this crowd. Where is Randy Lee? Man, I wish he was here. Okay, pre-1960, we won't make anybody angry. On the count of three, before 1960, 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, 57 Chevy, Model T. Now I'm hearing some stuff. Good. Awesome. So you guys got some good cars. Okay. Okay, our monitors are still on. Very good. Oh, graduation is fun. Okay, here we go. We're going to start in Matthew chapter 16 this morning. Verse 21. We're kind of going to read two different passages of Scripture. The first one will be Matthew 16, 21 through 27. Follow me with that. And then Matthew 17, 1 through 9. Okay, these are kind of two different things, but they're like back to back. So we're going to start with the first one and then the second. So here we go. 16:21. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed on the third day and be raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. "Never, Lord," he said, "this shall never happen to you." Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan, you are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will find it. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what he has done." Okay, Matthew 17, verse 1. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah, talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, a bright cloud enveloped them. And a voice from the cloud said, "This is my Son whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified, but Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you've seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." Okay, we'll stop there. Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John and led them up a high mountain by themselves, okay? I want to start this morning by saying, I fully believe that Jesus is here with us, right? In this room. He's here with us. I'm not sure exactly how this is. Whether it's His Spirit filling the room, whether it's the Holy Spirit in us, or whether Jesus is here and 100 other places at the same time, but in some format, He's here. Jesus is here. Matthew 18, Jesus said this, "For where 2 or 3 come together in my name, there I am with them." So He says, "I will be with you." I also believe there are some people here like Peter, James, and John in this building right now, like those 3 people. These people are here almost every Sunday. I mean, they're here quite a bit. There's not a whole lot in life that keeps them away. My personal prediction is that God is getting ready to do something very big in Winnigan Christian Church, if it hasn't already started. Jesus took with Him Peter, James, and John and led them up a high mountain. This isn't a foothill, okay? This isn't a boot hill. This isn't a sledding hill. This is a high mountain. I just want you to look at this high mountain for a minute. Visualize this. When you look up from base camp, this mountain looks impossible. You see snow blowing across the top. You see a general line where there's a tree line. No more vegetation. You see sharp edges, cliffs, overhangs. and it becomes bare and rocky. And when you stand and look at the top, you're honestly not 100% sure you could actually make it up there, you know? Not sure your body could do this, right? That's the way I feel. I'm too old, you know? I mean, that's tall, not strong enough, you know? Maybe I'm not sure I've got that in me. Don't have the time, maybe, to get to the top. Okay, I'm talking about us right here in Winnigan Christian Church. The reality is we're not even 50% sure we could climb that mountain. Just look at that mountain. This is us. This is us at the bottom. This is not somebody else. This is us. It's almost like it's a one-way mountain, right? Say your goodbyes at base camp. Your mind's not really at base camp. That's not really your focus. Your focus is the mountain, the top, where that snow's just blowing off the edge up there. It's an awesome peak. Man, can you imagine the view? It's summit. It's steep and dangerous parts. I fully believe that a large part of Winnigan Christian Church is mentally getting very close to starting the ascent up the mountain. I think it's getting ready to happen. Truthfully, I believe you could start it today if you fully believed in yourself. I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes here talking about Winnigan Christian Church and this mountain. Okay, here we go. Verse 1, after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. After 6 days, it says. Think about that just for a moment. After 6 days, 6 days. Now, I did not plan this, but today just so happens to be we are finishing up week 6 of a 6-week sermon series. And right here in the Bible it says, after 6 days. We spent 6 Sundays studying how to jumpstart your walk with Jesus. And coincidentally, it says right here in the Bible, after 6 days, Jesus and 3 believers started on a walk. They started up that mountain. One big thing you got to know, this walk, that you've jump-started, that you're jump-starting, it's not level, okay? It's not level. Maybe you came here to listen to this 6-week sermon series, How to Jumpstart Your Walk with Jesus. It's not level ground you're looking at. That's not what's in front of you. Okay, everybody, I want you to do this. I want you to take your index finger, and just whichever finger you want, and point straight up and a little bit forward, okay? Just like that, just for a minute. Take a deep breath, straight up a little bit forward like that. That's where we're headed, up there. Okay, you can put your hand down. That's where we're going. Winnigan is going up there, up to the summit, up to the top, where it's dangerous, where you could fall down. It could hurt us very badly up there. It could be very dangerous. John was the only brother mentioned, interestingly enough, that went up the mountain as far as a brother goes, okay? John. Okay, now all of your family and friends are going up there. They're not all going, just so you know. You still going to go? Still going? Can you handle it? Even though you can't take everybody? You can't take your whole family? Matthew 19:29, and everyone who has left houses, or brothers, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or fields, for my sake will receive 100 times as much and will inherit eternal life. You can't take everybody with you up there. Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. The cool thing is, here's the cool thing, Jesus, who's here, is going to lead us up the mountain. Jesus, the one we serve, the one right here in the room, right now. If, just imagine if he's really here. What would it be like to be him, It's like, I'm just patiently waiting, Come on, guys, we're going that way. It's like this has got to be a patient thing for Jesus, to wait on us to go. Jesus is leading this climb. Verse 2, there he was transfigured before them. Immediately, Jesus was transfigured before them. Boom, his face shone like the sun. His clothes became as white as light. Jesus changed right before them. He transfigured. Transfigured means to transform into something more beautiful, more elevated, exalted, glorified, spiritually changed. That's what Jesus did. Jesus gets up there on the mountain with Peter, James, and John, and he transfigures. Wow. We're getting ready to see Jesus in a whole different light. Several of you, you've been wanting to see Jesus. I've had several of you ask me, what can I do? How can I get closer to God? What do I need to do, Ryan? How do I get involved? How can I get closer to Jesus? The answer is, got to go up that mountain with Jesus. Got to go up there, up top. Can you imagine seeing Jesus transfigured? Just then there appeared before them, verse 3, Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Old Testament dudes talking with Jesus now. Now you're seeing that. You go up this mountain, you're going to see more about Jesus than you ever have imagined, okay? This isn't seeing Jesus in the storm outside in the hayfield, or seeing Jesus in a child's smile, which is awesome, or seeing Jesus in a couple that's been married for 60 years. This is seeing Jesus transfigured, heavenly, exalted, glowing. You haven't seen this yet. We haven't seen it. Do you know there's more to Jesus than you've seen up to this point right now? We haven't seen it all. There's more. You can't even imagine what transfigured looks like. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this. I believe we can see a whole new side of Jesus if we as Winnigan get off of our lazy, tradition-infused, 1960s seats, our building. If we go up there, man, we can see something powerful up there. I mean, we're really going to follow Jesus, like right now. Really? Do you believe that? Do you think coming to church for 90 minutes one day a week is truly everything there is to following Jesus? That's all of it. You think so? There's more to us than this right here. There's more to Winnigan Christian Church than this moment right here where somebody gets up here and preaches a sermon and we go. What will they say about us 50 years from now if we do choose to go up there? What are our great-grandchildren going to say? We just spent 5 Sundays studying Elijah. Okay, we spent 5 Sundays studying Elijah. Make a statement, tell the world who we are, present yourself to Ahab, show your old self what's really up with your new self. Find your broom tree, make sure you got sufficient resting place to get out of Satan's heat. What are you doing here like Elijah? What are we even doing here, in Winnigan? See God in your life. Elisha saw the chariots of fire and horses and the whirlwind, and they took Elijah away. We got to want it like Elisha. We're finishing up week 6 right now. What's next? What's coming on week 7? Week 7, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? Are we going that way or are we going that way? What are we doing? I'll tell you what's next. Elijah shows up transfigured in the New Testament with Jesus. What about Winnigan? How many Old Testament people actually appear in the New Testament? Not many. How many churches in America are actually following Jesus? Answer it for yourself. Jesus is talking to Elijah in the New Testament. In Matthew right here. What does that tell you about Elijah? This is the Elijah that was scared to come out of the cave when God passed by. This is the Elijah that wasn't perfect. This is the Elijah, people hated him. It tells you that Elijah is with Jesus now, Jesus transfigures into his heavenly dwelling, and what do you see? Moses and Elijah with Jesus talking. Wow, that's interesting there. Two other people who previously died, but are actually with Jesus talking to him when you see Jesus transfigured. Current moment walking around with Jesus. That should give you some hope right there, right? I believe when we die, if we give our life to Jesus and follow him, we'll be walking and talking with Jesus, maybe even transfigured with Jesus. How awesome would that be? And to see Moses and Elijah. Man. Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. This is what Peter's saying. Now he's up on top of the mountain, which could be us. He's up there on top where the snow's blowing. And he's like, this is good, Jesus. This is good to be here. Peter says, I like this, Jesus. This is good for me. This is like strawberry Pop-Tarts and chocolate milk. I like it, Peter is stoked right now. And Peter says, I will put up 3 shelters right now for you guys. I'll put them up right now. One for Moses, one for Elijah, and one for you, Jesus. I'll do it. I'll do it, Jesus. Peter thinks they need a shelter over their heads. He thinks they need a shelter over them. That's what Peter thinks, that they need a shelter. A shelter. Peter wants a shelter. But Moses and Elijah and Jesus do not need a shelter. They are transfigured. Transfigured people don't need shelters. They just don't. We think we need 1 big house, 2 fine cars, and a 3-course meal at Mikasa, but we just don't need that, God says, wait a minute. Hold up, Peter. Hold up, Peter. That's cool right there. Did you catch what just happened? See, now God shows up. Now God's in the game. God, the Father of Jesus, the Creator of the universe, now present, speaking to Peter, James, and John in the presence of Jesus, Moses, and Elijah. Jesus is transfigured. Moses and Elijah are transfigured, talking with Jesus, and now God shows up too. Peter wants to build a house, and God speaks up and says, wait, Peter. This is Jesus transfigured. Have you seen this before, Peter? This is what he looks like transfigured. Jesus don't need no house, That's how I'd say it. My wife would be like, doesn't. However you want to say it, Jesus doesn't need a house. He's transfigured. God says the only person needing something in this moment, Peter, is you. And what you need is to listen to Jesus. That's what God says. See, I don't think we at Winning in Christian Church can really comprehend living for Jesus Christ. Honestly, I just don't think we're 100% there yet. Living for Jesus is not building a shelter. It's not even building a life for ourselves. It's listening to Jesus. Listening to Him. Listening to Jesus. What are you saying, Jesus? Well, we're listening. If you're really here, Jesus, right now, we're listening. What is it, Jesus? Listening to Him. Friday evening, Susan had scheduled for me and Brody and Jake to go to Milan to get our hair cut. Eric the barber, heard of him? Yeah, that's where we get our hair cut, the good guy. We're rushing around trying to get there. I'm trying to get home by like 3:30 so I can make it 4:30, get there by 5, And Jake and I had run out in the field and to check some things. And when we're out there, we're having like this serious conversation. We come back to the house and we grab Brody. Brody jumps in the truck. Now Brody's in the back seat. Jake and I are in the front talking. We're heading. And we leave the driveway, and about 30 seconds goes by. Brody says, Dad. And I said, just a minute, Brody. Jake and I are talking. Okay, so now we're heading north to Winnigan. We go through Winnigan. We get up to about Steve Kilgore's house. And Brody says, Dad. And I said, Brody, just a minute. I'm talking to Jake. We get to Mystic. We turn west. We go by the Kings. We head down in the bottom. And finally, Jake and I get done. And I said, Brody, what do you need? And he says, Dad, you got a tick on your neck. What? Why didn't you tell me something? You said, wait. That's what he said. I wasn't listening. Brody was trying to tell me. Dad wasn't listening. And the Bible says, God says, on the mountain of transfiguration, just listen to Jesus. Peter. While Peter was still speaking about building a house, a bright cloud enveloped them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my Son, whom I love. With him I'm well pleased. Listen to him." This is God speaking, the one who spoke Genesis chapter 1 into existence, coincidentally, in 6 days. Man, I just have to say that blew my mind, 6 days. After 6 days, they went up the mountain. 6 days, you do creation. I mean, we're doing a 6-part sermon series. I mean, I didn't play any of this, and I'm just thinking, man, God, this is just incredible, the stuff that you throw out there. I fully believe with all my heart everything I'm telling you about Winnigan right now. I believe Winnigan Christian Church is geared up for something big. I would not be here if I didn't believe that. I believe Jesus is getting ready to show us something almost heavenly. But we got to head up the mountain. Our focus has to be where we're pointing up the mountain, head up the mountain. The 6 days are over. Time to go up the mountain. The Jumpstart Your Walk with Jesus is here. It's here. It's here. We jump-started it. Now, I want to finish this up with this. The last point of the series, I want you to just catch this. This is number 6. Here it is. Back up one chapter, right before the Transfiguration. I believe it all comes down to this right here. Matthew chapter 16. From that time on, Jesus began to explain. This is verse 21, Matthew chapter 16. Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, chief priests, and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed on the third day and be raised to life. Verse 22, Peter, this is the same Peter that goes up the mountain in the next chapter, took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him. "Never, Lord," he said. "This shall never happen to you." Never, Jesus, never. This cannot happen. We won't let it happen. We can stop it. We know the people. I'm on the school board. I work at the bank. I work at the hospital. I work at the county and the courthouse. We can stop this, Jesus. We know the people. We got you, Jesus. You don't need to go and suffer many things. This is what Peter is saying right before he goes up the mountain. Now, if you miss everything, don't miss this. Right here, Jesus goes superhero on Peter, okay, right here. His eyes change focus. He looks directly into, this is Jesus, looks into the spiritual world, which I believe he always does. He turns to Peter, looks right at Peter, and says this, 23. "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men. Get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block. Get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men." That's what Jesus says to Peter. See, in Winnigan, Missouri, Winnigan Christian Church, or wherever you are, it's not about comfort or a building or your house or a fine car. It's not about staying in the comfortable Christian chair. It's not about our accommodations. It's about listening and going and suffering many things. And if we make it about us and staying here and doing our own little thing here, really, all Jesus has to say about that is, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me. You don't have in mind the things of God, but the things of men." I don't know about you, but the last thing I want to be is a stumbling block to Jesus Christ. I cannot be a stumbling block. I cannot. So you'll never learn about how to follow Jesus in Vogue, Vanity Fair, GQ, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. You'll never find it there. Because that stuff is all about you. It's all about us. Mainstream media is about you. Being a Christian is about Jesus. Jesus said, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me." Whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Whatever loses his life for me will find it. What good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? You know, if I personally never get to preach another sermon here the rest of my life in Winnigan, I want you to know this. You have to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow Jesus. That's being a Christian. Even if it means following him up a high mountain. See, Jesus Christ denied himself, his own life, picked up his cross of crucifixion, and walked up the hill to die for you. He was crucified on a cross to buy you back from sin and death. Jesus bought you with his blood, his body, with his life. He was separated from God for a short period of time, so you never have to be separated from Jesus again. Why are we holding back? Who are we trying to impress? You know? What could possibly be greater in this life than to fully live for Jesus and follow him up the mountain? I want to challenge you today to stop building your life for you and to just start following Jesus. That was God's advice to Peter on the mountain of transfiguration when Jesus was in his heavenly form. There is no possible way you could live a better life than living for Jesus. You cannot build a better life than that. You just can't. There's no better way. We're going to sing a hymn of invitation this morning. And man, if you need to make a decision, even just where you are in your own chair or standing up, if you want to make a decision that you are just going to deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow Jesus, I would challenge you to do that. Because it is not about us. God has something powerful right ahead, I believe, for Winnigan Christian Church. We're going to stand and sing our hymn of invitation. If you would stand with me.